Right now, the language around Iran is starting to sound less like negotiation and more like an ultimatum. Ultimatum. And knowing our history, you know what happens when ultimatums replace diplomacy. Welcome to Neutral Scope. I am Naeem Sidhu. Let's analyze what is happening around us. I hope my learned viewers will understand what is hidden beneath my words. In a present situation, we need to use words carefully. What I am about to show you isn't just about one country. It's about whether the entire global system is about to crack. In July 1945, the world heard a sentence that changed history. Do you know what was that? Japan must accept unconditional surrender. It was the Potsdam Declaration. Within weeks, the nuclear age began. Today, more than 80 years later, analysts are hearing this strangely familiar tone in global diplomacy. The question is no longer simply about negotiations with Iran. It's about whether the current international system can still enforce its own rules. And when great powers begin questioning the rules of a system, history tells us something dangerous usually follows. Now let's see when language becomes a weapon. Sometimes the real escalation happens in the words, sentences, not the weapons. For 4 decades, the dominant Western strategy towards Iran has been containment, sanctions, isolation, pressure, but many policymakers now argue this strategy has reached its limits. Iran's regional influence has expanded. Its drone and missile capabilities have matured, and its partnerships across Eurasia have deepened. From the perspective of decision makers in Washington, the crisis is no longer about negotiations. It's about credibility. We know they haven't achieved the goals of the ops started on February 20th. I wouldn't say more than that. You know why? The diplomat, foreign minister Henry Kissinger once wrote in the book World Order, international orders collapse not because they fail, but because their rules stop being accepted. That is the real tension behind today's crisis. Dear Neutral Scope family, do you know about the fortress that geography built? Here's what makes Iran different from every other country in the Middle East. You can't just invade it. Iran sits on the Iranian plateau, a massive elevated landmass nearly 1,000 meters above the surrounding regions. Mountains surround much of the plateau, creating natural defensive barriers that have shaped its history for thousands of years. From Alexander the Great to the Mongols, invading armies learned the same lesson. This terrain turns Iran into a fortress. Even today, geography still shapes strategy. Iran sits at the crossroads of the 3 major regions: the Middle East, Central Asia, and South Asia. In other words, it's the bridge of Eurasia, if you see the map, which means any major confrontation involving Iran would not just affect one state. It would disrupt the entire regional architecture of trade, energy, and transportation. And that is where the real global risk begins. Now I'm going to talk about the energy shockwave. And this is the part that should terrify anyone, everyone, watching energy markets right now. The Strait of Hormuz carries roughly 1/5 of the world's daily oil supply. If geopolitical tensions escalate in that region, energy markets don't simply react, they panic. Oil prices could hit levels not seen since 1970s oil crisis, maybe $300 per barrel for countries across Asia. This wouldn't be abstract. It would be immediate. Fuel stations in Mumbai and Delhi, transportation costs across Karachi and Lahore, manufacturing supply chains throughout Asia. India imports nearly 85% of its crude oil. A significant portion flows through the Persian Gulf. Pakistan's energy security is even more fragile. Any disruption in Gulf supply routes would create immediate crisis. Shipping insurance rates would skyrocket, trade routes would slow, and global inflation, already a major concern, would accelerate sharply. This is what economists call systematic contagion, a regional crisis that spreads through the entire global economy. The result will be death. Death of who? The death of strategic neutrality. The economic shock is only half the story. The other half is about who you are forced to stand with. For decades, many countries have pursued what's called strategic autonomy, the ability to maintain relations with multiple major powers without choosing sides. This approach became especially prominent after the Cold War and has roots in the non-aligned movement, NAM. But in a world of rising great power competition, that space for neutrality is collapsing. If a major geopolitical confrontation emerges around Iran, middle powers across Asia and the Middle East would find themselves under intense pressure to align with one side or another. For example, India would face an impossible choice: protect energy ties with Iran and risk sanctions, or abandon Chabahar port and decades of strategic investment. For Pakistan, balancing between Beijing, Washington, and Tehran becomes exponentially harder. The global system would move further away from globalization and closer to a fragmented world of strategic blocks. Now, time to analyze what would be the Eurasian countermove. This is where Russia and China enter the equation, because they are not going to just sit back and watch. For Russia, Iran represents a crucial southern corridor connecting Moscow to the Indian Ocean through the international north-south transport corridor. Without that access, Russia's trade routes become far more constrained. For China, the stakes are equally significant. Iran plays a critical role in Beijing's long-term energy security and regional connectivity projects linked to the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. Because of these interests, any major confrontation involving Iran would not occur in isolation. Responses might not come as direct military involvement. Instead, they could emerge through financial realignment, technological cooperation, or diplomatic coalitions designed to counterbalance Western pressure. In other words, the crisis would not remain regional, just regional. No, it would quickly become global. Dear friends, do you know what's the Persian memory? My last video was on this topic. If you haven't watched, please have a look at that. I'll give link in the description. A very intriguing question. Why has Iran survived decades of pressure in the first place? The answer lies in something deeper than geopolitics. It lies in history. Iran represents one of the oldest continuous civilizations in the world. Empires have risen and fallen on the Iranian plateau for more than 3,000 years. Yet the Persian cultural identity has survived invasions, revolutions, and political transformations. And historian Homa Katosian, he explains in the Persians, Iran's political history is marked by cycles of disruption and renewal. This long historical memory has shaped the country's strategic culture. External pressure often produces not collapse, but resilience. And that historical resilience is one reason the current crisis matters far beyond the Middle East. So let's conclude it. The global system is under stress. The real story of today's tension is not simply about one government or one dispute. It's about the future of the global system itself. If diplomacy prevails, the world may continue navigating its slow transition toward a multipolar order. But if confrontation escalates, the consequences could ripple across energy markets, trade networks, and geopolitical alliances. Here's my prediction. If diplomatic talks collapse or doesn't happen within the next couple of months, India will be forced to publicly choose between US alignment and energy security. Pakistan will face similar pressure from Beijing and Washington simultaneously. Moments like these are rare in history. They are the moments when the rules of the international system are tested, and sometime when those rules begin to change. If this analysis added value, please subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for being with me.